So you get out there first thing in the morning, and the sun's not up real high yet. It's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock if you get up that early. I like to get out there early, so I'll be on the water by 6, and I'm gonna be throwing topwater lures. It's usually my biggest fish come from topwater lures, and I usually use specific lures to catch those fish. The ones I like to start with, if I'm targeting redfish, I like to throw the one knocker spooks in pearl melon specifically. It's got a good noise to it, and I don't know why, but I just catch more redfish on this. I have caught a few trout on it, decent sized ones, but it's really my redfish killer. I got some pictures of redfish, and I mean 30-inch redfish will hit this thing, and it's a fight. Now if you really want to target trout, I like to throw the sea trout color one knocker. Also, it's got that same noise, and I think it's just got a bigger hit to it, and those big sea trout just love this thing, man. You catch 18, 19-inch sea trout all day long. If you notice that you're getting short strikes and they're not really taking it, sometimes it's smaller fish, you might want to downsize and throw one of these. This is a Super Spook Junior in redfish. I haven't thrown that one too much. Like I said, I usually like trying to throw just the bigger spooks and bigger topwater lures, because you just catch bigger fish. I haven't caught as many big fish on these as I have on, that size. And you look at them, there's a little difference there. So I got that one in redfish, and also usually throw like a bone color if I don't have something dark on there. Either one do pretty good. This one's got a feather tail, but like I said, if I'm going redfish, I'll throw the pearl melon Super Spook one knocker. And sea trout, we're going to go with the sea trout color. And I don't know why they stick with these colors so much, but it's just been my experience. But my favorite that I like to throw is the Rapala Skitterwalk in redfish color. And this thing just catches all of them. I mean, when I leave in the morning, this is going to be one of the lures tied on. It's got a unique rattle to it. It's not like the one knockers, but like I said, you catch redfish, trout, the whole works with it. It's just one of my personal favorites, and that's a 5-inch model. They also come in a 4-inch model, but it comes with freshwater hooks. They're a little small, but again, if you notice that you're getting a lot of missed strikes and they're hitting and not actually taking the 5-inch lures, you might want to downsize and try throwing the 4-inch. But I definitely keep these in the tackle box as well. The way you're going to want to work that is in a walk the dog action. I got a little clip here, you can check it out. And the big thing is just going to be changing your cadence until you figure out what the fish want. Sometimes I'll go with 3 twitches and then pause it. Sometimes I'll do 5 twitches and pause it. Sometimes you can twitch it the whole way to the boat and they will hammer. It's just going to be depending upon what the fish are doing that day. All of these topwater lures I like to throw on a St. Croix Mojo Yak Rod medium fast 7 foot. I've got that rigged up with a Corrado DC reel because you want to make extremely long casts with these. Obviously the closer you are to the fish, the better chance you have of spooking them. But I mean, whenever you're out fishing in the marsh or fishing anywhere along the coast, you're going to have wind to deal with. Very rarely do you get out there and there's not a 10 or 15 mile an hour wind, and that DC just it allows you to cast more. I mean, I don't know what it is, but there's no backlash, and you can turn and throw into the wind. That thing's incredible, and it holds up. I mean, I pulled in 30-inch redfish with it, and it just keeps hammering. So I got that paired up with Seagar 30-pound test. This is a Stealth Gray in Smackdown. It's kind of pricey, but this stuff will cast a mile. I mean, it flies off of there. Normally I tie that up with a FG knot, and I pair it with a like 25-pound monofilament. Use mono with the topwater lures because it floats. and I haven't really had any problems with 25-pound test. It seems to hold 20-25. I've caught 30-inch redfish on it. I haven't had any problems with it. Every now and then you'll break one off. I think I've lost a couple in the rocks, but running through oysters, it'll cut and nick it, but for the most part it does pretty good. And I usually only tie on like a foot-long leader, like 12 inches, because you're throwing top water. I mean, it's not that big a deal to have it clear. Everything's on the surface. So one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to make sure your hooks are good before you go out there. Obviously, when they hit that lure, I've seen them knock them up in the air, and those fish, the redfish, got a hard mouth. You want to make sure you pull it, set the hook in them good. Trout, if you know you're specifically messing with trout, a lot of them you got to be careful because their mouths are real tender. You can rip them open. You don't want to be, hitting on them too hard, but you'll know the difference between a red and a trout whenever you catch them. But sometimes a big trout will play games with you too. You got to watch that. So after the sun's gotten up high and you've realized that the top water bite's slacked off, the other bait that I like to have tied on is a Egret Wedgetail mullet, and you can probably see that little yellow tail there. It's nice and thick. It definitely catches the attention of the fish. It's got a good drumming or a good vibration in the water, so the fish are drawn to it. I rig it a couple different ways depending on where I'm fishing. If I'm needing to fish a little deeper, sometimes I'll throw one of these Z-Man eye strike Texas eye hooks, and it's got a little wobbling action to it. The weight don't hold itself, and you get a little vibration that way. The other way I like to rig it is with a chin lock, Mustad chin lock hook, and that just has a belly weight most of the time, and I try to get the heavier belly weights. This one's only an 1/8 ounce, so you can't really fish the strong currents that we have down there with it. You need to actually step up, and sometimes I will, and a lot of times I'll use a Berkeley. This is a 5/0 swim bait hook. A lot of times I'll change out the bait keeper to one of these center pin bait keepers. Like I said, having the bigger weight is definitely key whenever you got the stronger currents. We got a 6 to 9 foot tide swing sometimes, depending on what time of year you're down there. During the summer, it's not too bad, but you definitely want more weight to get your bait down, and these things work great. Don't think 5/0 is too big. I've caught plenty of small trout on a 5/0 hook. Different colors they got. There's a black and yellow, or black and chartreuse, Cajun pepper and chartreuse. This one's gold nugget. Another way I like to rig them is with just your standard jig head. This is a 1/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce jig head. It's open on the hook. The biggest problem with these is going through oysters. They will hang up if you work them too slow, and you want to be just on top of the oysters whenever you're running and bringing it back to you, reeling it in. These tend to catch in between oysters, and it hangs up bad. Whenever I notice I'm fishing a lot of heavy oysters, I will throw that swim bait hook because it just coasts through them so much better. If you're going near jetties or deeper structure, you might want to step up to like a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce. This is a Berkeley swim bait jig head, and I believe it's a 1/2 ounce. Different colors you got. There's a white, black, red. That's my typical colors. I really don't go too crazy with them. I think the fish really just see what they want to eat and chase it down. Sometimes when the wedge tails aren't working, I'll swap over to a voodoo shrimp. Voodoo shrimp I'll throw on a fluorocarbon leader. Usually I throw about 5 foot on the fluorocarbon leader. I usually tie it on with an FG knot. It goes through your guides much smoother. And these are the 3.5 inch rattling versions. This one's in Creole Magic, and this one's in Red Pepper. These things catch them all, man. They'll catch redfish, trout, and flounder. I don't typically throw voodoo shrimps, but if nothing else is working, it is one thing I do keep in the box, and I will try. Sometimes if it's real windy out and you got a good chop on the water, you can throw a popping cork on with a voodoo shrimp under it, and the popping cork actually allows the shrimp to keep moving at a certain depth in the water column, and with that noise that the popping cork can make whenever you pop it, it draws out some fish. And if you got all the rest of this and nothing else is working, you can try that. The last thing that I'll keep in the tackle box is the mirror lures. Now, you'll see a ton of the 17 MRs. They're the lightweight ones. They float. I think they drop at like 1 foot per second in the water. And around where we are in South Georgia, that's not fast enough. That tide is running. It is moving. It will take that thing, and before it can sink, it's already, unless you're fishing 2 or 3 feet of water, it's practically useless. So I like to throw the heavy dines. That's the 18 MR, and this one's got the darker olive colored back with a silver flash on the side. And you'll get in the areas in the sand with trees and other places. If you haven't caught them with anything else, you can give these a shot. And I've caught some really nice trout on these things. We fished a tournament down in the Everglades City, and I picked up a 25.5-inch trout on one of these on the edge of a channel. It was pretty incredible. It was definitely one of my bigger trout. But they do work in Georgia. I've fished a couple places off of Alley Street in Tybee Island. If y'all are familiar with that, there's a sandbar across from the ramp, and when it's high tide, you can get out there on some trout, and they will smash this thing. I've caught a ton of back-to-back cast. Definitely a pretty good one to keep in the box though too. So if y'all got any questions, feel free to comment below. I'll answer what I can if I don't know it, and I can surely find out. Like I said, a lot of people haven't heard about Egret baits. Check them out. That's the package that they come in. These things have got some incredible action, man. That yellowtail really draws them out. When I have to stop topwater fishing, this is the first thing I'm throwing. I've got Z-Man lures as well. Z-Man does a pretty good job with their stuff. I do like the yellowtail though. That thing, that chartreuse tail, just, I think it draws more strikes than anything else that you throw. But topwater fishing is my favorite. So when you get down there, get your rod out, carry a couple skidder walks and a couple one knockers, and have some fun, because there's nothing like that topwater bite whenever they hit it. And sometimes it'll last all day. I've fished with blue skies and been catching fish on topwater, but sometimes it doesn't go that way. But anyhow, y'all, like I said, comment below if you got any questions. I'll answer what I can, and y'all have a good trip.